What's happening, guys? This is a bit of a continuation of my DED5 running segment I did about High-Sec. In the video I noted I do them anyway when they're in Lowsec, and I thought what a great opportunity to show how you would do it in Lowsec and some little tips as far as being safe about it. Also, living in Lowsec, out of all space in Eve, over the years, I've spent the most of my Eve life in Lowsec. And the reason is logistics. When you go to Null, it's a pain to get things in and out. Whereas Lowsec, you still get the risk, you still get decent rewards, and you have the means to get the equipment to do the job. It's just a few jumps away. It's not very difficult. And so that's why it's always appealed to me, especially doing things solo. It's very convenient, and there's a lot of money to be had. In fact, later on in this video, I'll show you in an hour that I made over 600 million ISK in one site. It was a DED6. So let's start with the DED5 of Lowsec. I like the Gila. There's several ships that you can use. This one I prefer because like Tangos and stuff are popular, but they're expensive. And DPS, the Gila, you get more DPS. It's a little slower though. It kind of counteracts. See, the Tango, you can do like heavy assault missiles, but you're limited on range. But you don't have to wait for the travel time on the drone. So while you're getting over 700 DPS with the Gila, you have to factor in there's some travel time. But it's small, agile. You can get through and get out very quickly if you see some problems. And that's why I prefer it. It's very tanky, does a lot of damage, and it gets the job done. So first I'm going to start with an Angel DD5. I got an escalation into Lowsec, and here's how I go about it. The first thing I do is I open up the map, and I just take a look at active pilots. I then take a look at jumps per hour, and then finally how many ships have been destroyed in the last hour and the last 24 hours. If there's been quite a few ships destroyed in the last hour, I'll wait till later. Also, I'll look at the kill board for that system. I'll type in the system name, check it out, see who the key players are down there, see what I'm up against. If it's just like a pirate group, it's no big deal. But if there's hot droppers and these people are using cloaky things, a little bit more concern. So it's intel. You want to gather that before you take a risk. All the information you have makes you a lot safer. When you see those people in local, you know what they're all about. If they're aggressive, what to deal with. So if you see probes out, you know what's coming. You know who flies together. And it only takes a few minutes to look it up. So always do that. If available, I highly recommend a scout. I always use my ult as a scout. I just have them in a cloaky ship, and I fly them in front of me. I take a look at the system. I fly around, especially my designation system. If there's people in local, I want to know if they're docked, where they're docked, and everything I can. So if they're active in there, or if they're currently scanning with probes, I know it's a bad time to go in there because they'll just throw out combat probes. But if, say, two people are in the system and both are docked, well, all I have to do is park my ult in there. I don't even have to full D-scan because I can see on the other monitor, hey, they're in there. I don't have to look. And then so you'll see in these videos, I won't really hit D-scan much because that's the situation I've set up. Then when they undock, I just start using D-scan. It's no big deal. And if they do throw out probes, I'll typically take my ult and jump over a system or two and take a look to see what's coming. If it's just one guy, I ain't worried about it. A lot of people just throw out probes to kind of scare you off. So, and in those cases, you can always micro warp drive off the gate far. So if someone comes in, you want to be at least 100 off in case they have an Arazu. That way you can just fly out of there real quick if you think they're going to give you trouble. But don't be scared about probes. People do it all the time. They try to troll you with them. I see them, doesn't raise the hair on the back of my neck at all. And some people, I've run sites and they've had combat probes, within 2 AU of me the entire time. And they didn't do anything but sit there because they had no friends. They probably wanted to do it, or they want it, and they're trying to scare you off. What you really need to be concerned about is just watching that D-scan. And because these have gates, even if a cloaky ship shows up, he has to decloak to take the warp gates to you, so you'll know, and you can get out of there. You just have to be very, very active on the directional scanner, and you have nothing to worry about. This is really straightforward. You're pretty snug as a bug as a rug in this thing, because you have plenty of time to react because you have this small ship, so you can just get out of there. Also, I like to align when I do the sights when possible. That way I move away from all the DPS off the ships, and if someone comes in, I click one button, I'm insta-warped out of there, and no kill for them. One other thing is always make sure to look up the site you're doing. Like we're doing the Red Light District Angel thing, where the same one in the video actually, where you have to blow up the structure. Some of these you can snipe the last thing, like the main rat, and then bookmark the wreck and then come back after it despawns. This site, you don't do that. You have to kill that structure, and it takes quite a while. It doesn't with the Marauder, but with this it does. So I just simply clear the room. Plus it's a peaceful night one, and I just take all the bounties while I'm here, so I do a full clear. And anyway, I'll speed this up, and we'll see how I do with the Gila. And you'll notice when I jump through gates, I usually micro warp drive. I do that just to split the ships. It keeps the DPS down on you. That way you burn away and you're fine. Now in the Angel world, it's pretty straightforward and easy. When you do blood rage, like blood raiders and stuff, those are actually quite harder. And the reason is neutralizers. Like on the battleships, you got to get off of them quick, otherwise they'll cap you out and you'll die. It's a real problem. It's much harder. Well, anyway, with the Angel ones, they're pretty straightforward. So I'll speed this thing up and we can see what happens. No drops, just the overseer effects. Still good money, a little disappointing, but hey, it's no guarantee, you gotta run them. So now we need to address how to identify places to live or just visit in Lowsec that gives you the highest chance of survival and allows you to scan down sites and do DED 5s and 6s and some of the things you can do in those neck of the woods. I made over 600 million in the first hour of Lowsec. It was just luck. Don't expect to get that every day. But there's days you'll make over $1 billion. There's days where you'll make 100 mil. Just doing anomalies, scanning down sites, and you're doing the anomalies for the escalations. You want to do hubs and dens and things like that. And then you'll scan down the sites and do what you can. So first, how do you find a Lowsec area? Well, when you open up your map, you want to go ships destroyed in the last 24 hours. Obviously, anything very bright is going to have a lot of action. It also shows you where faction war is going. So Empire is obviously in the middle, and then Lowsec filters out. And as you can see here, I actually lived in this area for a very long time. I did high-sec piracy, and then sometimes I'd have to repair my security status, or, I just ganked in Lowsec, and then I would need to repair it and make money, and people would always be out to get me. So I needed a quiet area. So me and a buddy of mine, we set up a POS back in the day, I think an access or gateway here. And as you can see, there's nothing going on down here. I mean, nothing in 24 hours. Very quiet. This may be a good area to go. As a bonus, and this is what you're really looking for, you want something like this system that has a pipeline. Let me see if I can find it. You want something with a pipeline that's camped. Yeah, this is my staging system right here. So in Anthem right here, usually back in the day, there'd be like a 40-man gate camp. And the reason they'd be set up here is people like to come down here and look at this EF gate. There's really nothing to see, but people go in there. So they'll just sit here and wait. And what this did for me is, you see these here? It was all dark because they would kill everything that would come in. It would protect me. So it made it even more lucrative. No one's doing the sites. I'm only doing the sites. So I had no competition thanks to these guys. So what I did is I just set up right here, move some stuff, and you just wait until they're not active. It's going to happen, and then come right through and you're good to go. So we set up a POS, and I had a transport ship, and they can warp cloak too, obviously. So getting through the camp was never a problem. Moving forward today, it's a little harder now that there's citadels. You don't get the privacy that you once did, but it's still lucrative and possible. So right now we can take a look. If you wanted to take a day trip, this gate is not camped. You can come down this pipeline and do all these, scan them all out and do them, and you'd be in good shape. So now that we've looked at ships destroyed in the last 24 hours, before you even take the trip, maybe you want to do jumps in the last hour. Try, if you have an idea, like this had 16 jumps, 20 jumps. That's very low. So there's not a lot of movement. And then you can see average pilots in space. So right here, there's 3 pilots. Now this is where my POS was. There's no station there. So this is a citadel. Thanks to citadels, we can kind of get screwed, but there's 3 people in the system. But as you can see, everyone else, there's one here. Looks like it. Yeah, he's probably just checking out the gate. There's nothing here to look at. Anyway, so this obviously is a place that you can go. Now, in my video, I moved down here, and the reason is at the time I checked, it was jumping in here. There's there's always somebody, like some big group of people that will live in this area because it's away from faction war and they kind of have their own space, but they're not null yet. It's like a staging area to move forward. And there are some guys that's been killing every POS and thing in the area. They're very active, just not today. So I decided, it was really busy that night. I came down here a little further. I always do my research. When you want to hit up an area, like when you look and see, maybe I want to move here, and there's 6 pilots that lost their ships. Check that system on the kill board. See who the parties are and what died. It could have been a simple, someone worked to a POS and got blown up, and that's what that kill was, so that's not really a threat. You want to evaluate your threat. Who are the parties? And what are they flying? Are they hot dropping? You know, do they run with a falcon? Do you have a chance in hell of surviving an encounter with these people with the ship's configurations they fly? You can figure this all out with the kill boards. It's just, you want to look at that. So I think for my video, I did, it was called RZ. Let me set the destination. Okay, so this is where I ended up going. A bit south from where I'm used to. I came down here, and this is where I staged out of. And I just focused, I think I got it either here or here, my first DED escalation for one of these three. It's pretty quiet here. There are a lot of Sino activity. And like today, this kill, I noticed like when I log in, I always check. And it was a Tengu that got blown up. He was hot dropped by a carrier, and a carrier came in and destroyed him. But that's good to know. You know what I mean? It's very good to know. So now you know, okay, if I see this player in local, he's a Sino player, let's keep our distance. Because it's going to be bad news if he catches you. But anyway, I just happened to pick this area. Alright, before I fire this up, I got it an escalation from doing an anomaly, and it was like 7 jumps out. So I sent my scout out and made sure everything was clear. And just something to think about. While PvP is great and all, it's very rare that it's solo. So if you happen to get a solo kill, you've now just shit where you ate. So now people are going to come roaming around looking for you because they know they can get a fight, or the guy's going to be all bitter about it and bring his friends. And now you can't do what you came here to do. So sometimes you just have to pass up on those opportunities if you want to get something constructive done. And there's times where I made the choice of killing people, and then I couldn't do anything for the rest of my duration of my stay. So you have to show a little discipline sometimes. Also, it goes a long way to be friendly and local. There was a pirate group in this area, and there was a guy running a site. And I said to him, "Hey, are you running the sites?" He goes, "Yeah, just these two, but not this one. I don't do those." He says, "You're welcome to." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll come back and do that later." And I did. We didn't mess with each other, and we talked for a while. It was very friendly, and you know, we could have fought each other. We were both. He was in a Stradios, and I was in a Gila, and we could have duked it out, you know. But instead, we just became friendlies because we're both there for the same thing, you know, just to get something done. Now you can see by the estimated value, it's actually doesn't take account the blueprint. So I say 600 mil because I kept the blueprint. I'm going to make the ship. Never flew one. I thought I'd mess with it. Some videos advise not to kill that Sentinel, and it's because you don't have the DPS when you have a Tengu and stuff. But when you have the Gila, you do. And you want to do it for two reasons. First, that dark blood drop that I have the mouse over right now, that dropped off the Sentinel. Okay. And second, if you have to warp out, you have to now contend with that thing again. So if you bring the right ship that can do the DPS, you definitely want to take it out. It's worth it. That way, it's more convenient if you have to warp out. As you saw, there was scan probes that just micro warp drive out of the way, just in case. I watched for a while. No one came in. You know, that's just the way it works. Don't get spooked. As you can see, this is very lucrative. My record was 2.8 billion in one day. You know, I haven't seen a day like that in a while, but just doing from Lowsec sites, I had two good ones back to back, and I was like, wow, that was awesome. So yeah, man. I mean, this is not factoring in the bounties and all the other stuff. And when you do those anomalies, you get faction spawns and stuff like that, and it just adds up. You know, there's risk. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing anomalies in a system where there's many people in local, but there's plenty of places you can find when no one's around. And because you have the protection of the gates, the probes aren't really a problem. It's when you're in an anomaly, you really have to be careful because you're exposed there. Anyone can warp there very easily, cloaked. So that's why you want to do your research first. If there's someone like flying a cloaky Protoss, you don't want to be in that anomaly when that guy shows up. It'd be very bad. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned something. Definitely go out there. Risk a few things. But remember, don't drive expensive stuff like a Tengu. I mean, risk versus, the investment versus risk. The Gila is like 200 million and some change. Tengu, it's at least twice that. You know what I mean? Then you have to fit it on top. It's just too expensive. Just bring this. Why, you're risking it anyway. Why not just risk something with less value with more DPS? Get it done faster. All right, you guys have a good evening.